doing them now. And I'm now going to introduce Liam Shoesmith, who's part of our homegrown talent. And Liam's going to speak on growing in soils and growing soils in Truro. Liam is our parks manager at Truro City Council, and he knows masses about horticulture and nature. And not for Liam is municipal planting. So we've got geraniums and begonias can be gone. He's actually founded the Wild Truro project, and if you want to see his work, you can go to St Mary's Street by the Cathedral, or the Old Bridge Street car park, or the Duck Pond at Boscawen Park. And there's all sorts of wonderful examples of his planting, which is attracting amazing pollinators and looks great all the time. So over to you, Liam.
Actually, I am incredibly nervous. I've seen the list of people that are academics. I didn't go to college. I do sort of know what you guys are talking about, but I'm not an academic. I'm a gardener, 30 odd years of gardening. And so I'm going to really talk about what I've seen in regards to the soil. And we'll start off as well by just telling you a little bit about what the Wild Truro project is about as well. So I'll rush through quickly. Everything's gone wrong on my PowerPoint. I put a load of photos over yesterday, switched it on this morning, and all I got was the writing with no pictures. How does that happen? So the show you're seeing now is one I've just thrown together as everybody was talking earlier on today. So good luck. Let's see what happens. So the first thing is a picture of my garden. My wife always says, oh, put a picture of the garden up. So that's a picture of my garden. That's actually probably about 12 months old. And the plants that are all in that garden were in 2-litre pots. So they're quite small pots. And those plants established that quickly. And the reason they established quickly like that is because the soil is really good. I did a lot of work on that soil prior to putting the plants in, and they loved it. And so did the wildlife within the soil, which I'll probably talk about a little bit in a minute. So first picture is a blank slide, which is wonderful. Goodness, right. I'm going to talk a little bit about Wild Truro, and the idea of Wild Truro is to, I believe, that we can make a great difference as gardeners, just in our home gardens, for wildlife in general. And just to give you some statistics, there's 87% of households have a garden, have a back garden. And in total, this is from the ONS government site, in total there's 452, 397 hectares of garden in England. And in the actually Great Britain, there's 521,872 hectares of gardening in Great Britain. So there's a massive amount of land here which we can make a great difference if we just consider wildlife when we're designing our gardens. And so that's what Wild Truro is about. And Henry VIII there is just an example with why wildlife is declining and what we're doing. So Henry VIII, a guy I felt very sorry for actually as a monarch. He had 6 mother-in-laws, which is not a nice thing to have. But he also started the Royal Navy. And that is the Mary Rhodes. And when that was raised in the 1980s, and I remember it happened on Blue Peter, they studied it and they worked out it was made out of, well, one of the trees in there was oak. And there was 600 large oaks, possibly cut down, possibly copied, to make that ship. That's 16 hectares, 40 acres of ground or oak coverage just disappeared in a 3-year period to make that boat. That was a massive effect on the land. He built 40 ships in total when he was building his Royal Navy. And there you go, just in case you didn't know what it looked like, that's an oak tree. And an oak tree can harbour many, many forms of life. It's about 600 different types of animals will live on there. But in total, with moss, lichens, and everything else, fungi and everything else going on, I did read a statistic saying that it was 3,500 different life forms can actually exist on an oak. And you times that by 600 and see how dramatically in 3 years life was affected while just building that ship. So just a picture there of things that are endangered. The bottom left-hand corner is a goldfinch, and that's actually a success story. And that's a success story through gardening. So I'll go to a hedgehog. hang on, there we go. So the goldfinch was on the decline in the late 90s, and people were getting quite worried about it. So the RSPB, I believe, got together with the Royal Horticultural Society and started educating gardeners and saying to them, look, if you leave seed heads on your plants for seed-eating birds like the goldfinch, and encourage them. Leave some teasel growing in your garden. Put the right feed on your bird tables. And between 2002 and 2012, goldfinch increased in numbers by 90%. So it came back. That's what's happening. We're losing nature, but with a little thought and a little action, we can actually bring it back. And the goldfinch is a perfect example of that. I'll go back to the hedgehog. Hedgehog is an example, and if you go to Trafalgar Roundabout in Truro, you'll see some very, very big hedgehogs, and that's sort of they're our sort of animal for wild Truro, just to demonstrate. So in the 1950s, it was thought there was 30 million hedgehogs. Now they reckon there was less than 1 million, and we've lost about half of our hedgehogs in the last 25 years. So hopefully with educating gardeners by putting holes in fences, creating habitat for hedgehogs in your garden, we can actually increase these animals. And also hedgehogs, the soil quality and the soil health is very important for hedgehogs, which I'll give you in a minute. So that is just a little bit about wild Truro. I'll go around talking to people about this, and somebody really enjoyed one of my talks last time, and it actually sent me a photo of them enjoying my talk. There you go, that was it. Loved it, they did. And they went back and they said, oh, go round to my boy's school. So I went round to the school and they enjoyed it as well. So strap in, this is what I'm going to talk about now. So here we go. Right, soil. And there's different types of soil. I think I won't bore you with the science I know, because you've got people that know far more than me, but we've already covered this clay, sandy, silty and loamy soil. Clay soil, which I think that's a picture of really, that's very dried up clay soil, is very, very fine particles, great for holding moisture, in fact too good for holding moisture. It gets very, very wet. When it dries out, it goes very hard like that, very hard to work with there. It's a heavy soil. Sandy soil is free draining. It's great for certain vegetables to grow in, but it doesn't hold the food very well, the feed very well for the plants, so it needs improving. Silty soil, again, that's a very, very good soil, but there's problems with that. Loamy soil is more organic matter put in it, but all of them, all soils benefit from that manure, organic matter. That's what helps soil open up. That just improves it, and it gives the soil life, which I'll probably chat about a little bit in a minute. So where does the organic matter come from? It can come from several sources. Well, this pile here came from a sheep's bum. So that's where it was. They were mucked out, put there, and that's what I used in my garden, which you saw at the beginning. My dad has a small holding. He had sheep, and I put that sheep manure into the soil, and that's the benefit of that. You saw the plants earlier. In 12 months, they became very, very well established and looking very good at the time. So that's one way of getting it, from animal manure. And oh, there's a picture there of a steaming compost heap. So you can do your own compost, and the steam is because the compost is breaking down. There's life in there. There's bacteria and all sorts of things moving around really quickly, creating heat, which causes the steam on a compost heap. So there's a life in that, and you want that in soil. Also, one of my favorite things, one of the best thing for a gardener ever, is leaf mold. That's fantastic stuff. That really gets into the soil, and lots of animals will eat that and break it down, and it will just improve the structure of your soil. So we go on. So leaf mold, one of the favorite things for a little earthworm to eat is leaf mold. They love it. Now on the right is the soil improved. So on the middle picture is actually when we started Wild Truro. What we did, we had an area by a car park. It was really rough soil. There was some old formiums in it, and we removed them, and the soil was dead. There was nothing in there. So we put organic matter in on the soil, which was in the form of leaf mold. And we did that in November. And that center picture is when I started planting in actually February. I started digging and there was masses of little worms like that in there. They weren't there before. They came because we put the leaf mold in there and they started to breed, and it made an environment for the worms. So already, just by putting organic matter into this hungry soil, into our garden to get it going, we are now making something for wildlife. We're actually bringing wildlife into the soil. So we're putting worms in there. There's bacteria that will be doing things in there. The worms also, when they eat the soil and eat the leaf mold and that, the enzymes in their stomach will break things down in what they eat. And when it comes out the other end, it's accessible to the plant, this nutrient, because worms' enzymes have broken it down. So it's just beneficial to get that soil nice and healthy. And if you get worms like that, you get, I don't know what's coming next. If you get worms, you get birds, because they like to eat worms. There's a blackbird, they're loving it. And we'll go back to the hedgehog because we've got healthy soil. The hedgehog likes worms. He's even licking his lips there. Look. He's enjoying his worms. So so we've got the soil working, and that's the important thing to start off this wildlife process. So we've gone back to leaf mold now. The leaf mold is a fungal breakdown mainly, and that's handy for the soil because you want to improve and increase the fungi content in the soil. We saw slides earlier of mycorrhizal fungus helping plants grow. That's all I could find when I went on the internet for pictures of mycorrhizal fungus, but mycorrhizal fungus is so important. Again, like the worms they eat and the enzymes in their stomach break things down and make it accessible to plants. So does mycorrhizal fungus. The fungus breaks things down, makes it accessible to the plant. It changes things. If you look at a lawn now, and sometimes you get something called fairy rings. That's a fungus growing there, and it's making these rings, and it's actually breaking down the nitrogen that the plants can't use into a usable form, and that's why you get that ring in your lawn. It's because it's high in nitrates for that grass to grow, so it's a lot darker and greener. So you're making the soil live, it's helping the plants grow along. And also other animals, that was taken down Boscawen Park, that's a stag beetle larvae. And I've been reading quite recently about them. And the fungus in wood piles around, they actually start breaking down the wood. And this stag beetle larvae, its stomach can't eat the wood as it is, so it needs the fungi to break down the wood so it's digestible for it. And then you get, of course, the stag beetles. I'm watching my watch here because I finish at 12:35, so I'll keep going. Stag beetle larvae, we see a lot of them down in Truro, in Boscawen Park particularly, and we get the lesser stag beetle, which is the one on the left there. But very, very, it's good to see. And we've encouraged that by encouraging fungi in our log piles. And then just quickly, like I said, I'm sorry, I am rushing here, is what we've done and made good soil and some results for you. That is 2017. That was an area down Boscawen Park where ducks would go and get fed on the grass there. They'd leave a little package behind. People wouldn't sit on there. It was a useless bit of ground. So, and actually the soil underneath that grass was terrible. It really was. So we got organic matter in. So if you look at the top left-hand corner, then go to the top right-hand corner, we started putting logs in there as well. That's for wildlife as well. And then if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that we've incorporated organic matter, and that was leaf mold and grass clippings. That was top-notch stuff, really good. And you can see there we started putting the plants in. So that job was done we started in the winter of 2017. The actual planting took place, I think it was January or February in 2018. Now, if you think back to 2018, we then had the beasts from the east that hit just after we planted those things. I was very worried. So the beasts from the east hit, and then we had the driest, hottest summer since 1976. But we did very limited watering in there. The plants had time from January to establish. They grew through all that, and because the soil was really good, this is a picture of the same garden in July of 2018. So same year, just July now. There you go. You can see the difference. Everything's just establishing, growing so well. because the soil is good and alive. Everything's working in there, everything's working together. And once you've dug your soil over and got the organic matter incorporated, just like Connor was saying, mulch, put mulch on top. Let the animals now and the creatures within it and the bacteria and everything else just work that soil itself. You don't need to dig it anymore now with shrubs and such like. You can just put a mulch on top. It'll break down all that life within the soil. Will start breaking that mulch down, bringing it into the soil and doing good for your plants. That bed is very sustainable and it's still going now. And the other beauty of that bed is we took, I think it was over 1,000 cuttings in the first year from that bed. So we got plants for free in theory, which we've also incorporated in other areas in Truro. Just quickly, that's Marcus. He now worked for us. At the time he didn't, and we had to put a water pipe through this bed, and this laurel here wasn't much good. It was full of rubbish. If you look on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see some litter in the corner. And I wasn't really allowed to get rid of it. Nobody wanted me to clear it, but assuming Marcus was putting this pipe in, I said, Marcus, you're a clumsy boy with the bigger bucket. Can you just move it around a little bit? And he moved it around quite a lot, and he cleared a lot. Well, I was in a little bit of trouble for that. This is when I became head gardener at Boscawen Park. I nearly didn't keep the job. And so what we did there, and that's another picture there, that's organic matter put in there. And again, that was leaf mold and grass clippings. Again, we had a lot off the roads, which is full of salt and things. You've got to be careful, but this was washed through, and that was really good organic matter to go in there. And I'm actually on that bed, that was, oh, blimey, that must have been 2011, something like that, when we did that bed. And even now, I'm pulling out worms as thick as my finger. They really, it's just full of wildlife and blackbirds. You see them quite often in there digging around for worms. So we put the organic matter in. That's a picture of Chris showing how to split herbaceous perennials. Again, it was February time. That seems to be the time when we have time to do these things. And you can see Chris is splitting the plants there and putting in the plants. And this is the truth. The next picture, I hope, if I've got it right, is the same bed 18 months after. Obviously, we put more in than just that, but this is the same bed 18 months after, now with really good soil. Bang. It's absolutely fantastic. You get that soil right. Look at the results. Amazing. Then we'll just quickly go to the cathedral, which Lindsay mentioned. This was to do with wild Truro. And wild Truro, we're creating diversity in the garden for wildlife. It's not just about pollinators, it's about everything. Maybe I can talk more on that another time. But this is the bed by the cathedral. And what we did, we added some organic matter in there again. And now we're just mulching on top. We're not disturbing the soil now, it's established, but that was the start of it. This is February 2018 again. And that's Chris there, just putting some plants on. We've added the organic matter. We put all the plants out. That's Lee on the right-hand side there, getting ready to plant. And then, so we planted away. That was 2018. And then in July 2018, I jumped on one of those logs and took a photo of it. That's a photo on the log, sorry, in February 2018. And in July 2018, I jumped on one of those logs and took a photo of it. There you are. I mean, look at that. It's herbaceous perennials. It's a quick turnover, but look at the results, how quick they are, because the soil's good. Have I said that? I think I have, yeah. And again, so we had from that to that, because we had really good organic matter in the soil working, and all the enzymes, organisms, everything else working hard to get our garden looking good. And we used none of that. Absolutely no fertilizer was used in the beds that you see there. We didn't need fake fertilizer because the soil is working. It's got an ecosystem itself. It's looking after itself. Brilliant stuff. And Lego Batman, that's because when I was doing a free run, I was showing another video and Sue said, oh, I think Lego Batman should stay. So I just stuck that in for you, Sue. There we go, done and dusted. I hope that was okay. I hope that wasn't waffled too quickly, and I hope you all got it. Thank you very much.
I think that was brilliant, Liam. That was so good. Thank you so much.